Hello students, today in this video of us, we are going to learn about the applications of biotechnology. In our earlier videos, we have learned about the processes, what is the process of biotechnology, how the recombinant DNA is constructed, and how the cloning of vector is done, and how the desired gene can be inserted into the bacterial cell, plant cell, and animal cell, whatever may be the case, and how we can differentiate between the transformants and non-transformants using the selectable markers. Now in this video, we are going to learn about the applications. What are the applications of this knowledge of biotechnology? Whatever we have learned, the process we have learned, and with this process, how we can apply this knowledge, the process of biotechnology, into the various fields for the human welfare. So first of all, we can divide it basically into, because this application of biotechnology is there in the enormous fields where it is helping in the welfare of the human beings. But basically here in this chapter, we will concentrate on the field in the agriculture and in medicine. Today we will concentrate on the applications of biotechnology in the field of agriculture. Now, first of all, we should know what are we doing when we are changing any gene, when we are altering the gene of any organism. That organism is called genetically modified organism, because we have modified, we have altered the genetic makeup of that organism. So once the desired genes has been incorporated into the host genome, that organism is called genetically modified organism, GMO, because now that organism is having the gene of our interest. Whatever gene we wanted in that organism, we have put that gene in that organism, and now that organism is having the desired qualities which we wanted in that organism to be. So that organism is now called genetically modified organism, GMO. So when this is done in the plants, they are called genetically modified crops or genetically engineered crops. Now, what are the genetically engineered crops? Genetically engineered crops are the crops which are having desirable genes, the genes which we want in them to have. Desirable genes. Now, desirable genes can be of any type. They can be the genes which are stopping the infection of insect or pest. They can be the gene which are increasing the yield of the crop. They can be the genes which are increasing the nutritive quality of the crop. So the gene can be of any type. It depends on us what gene we want to incorporate. And once that desirable gene is being incorporated in them, they are called genetically engineered crops. Now, genetically modified crops they can have more tolerance to abiotic stresses such as cold, drought, salinity, heat. Even after the green revolution, seeing the population explosion of our country, it is not sufficient to have good yield. We need a better nutritive quality in our crops. We need more tolerance in our crops, so that our crops should not get damaged when there are abiotic stresses such as more cold or drought is there, or the salinity of the soil is changed, or there is heat, the temperature is more. So we want our crops to be more tolerant towards these abiotic stresses, and that quality can be incorporated in our crops with the help of genetic engineering by the processes of biotechnology. Then we want insect and pest resistance in our crops. For instance, in insect and pest resistance, we are earlier in the conventional method, we are spraying the chemicals, insecticides and pesticides, which are having their own side effects. They have very harmful effects on human beings, because when we are using insecticides and pesticides, these chemicals, these harmful chemicals, they get stuck with the fruits and vegetables, and when we are eating them, these pesticides, these harmful chemicals are in our body, and by the biomagnification process, the percentage of these chemicals in our body is increasing day by day. So we can reduce, we can make our plants resistant for insects and pests naturally with the help of genetic engineering. Then we can reduce the post-harvest losses also. We can make the plant efficiently using the minerals which are present in the soil, and we can enhance the nutritive value also of the plant. For example, these days now we are producing rice which are rich in vitamin A. So that means in the plant of rice, we have incorporated the zein which is responsible for vitamin A. So this vitamin A rich rice is available in the market. So we can increase the nutritive value of the crop as well. So these are the different fields in which we can make our crops more efficient, more nutritive, and resistant for insect and pests by using this genetic engineering, by using the processes of biotechnology. Now, in this, we will take the example of BT cotton. Now, BT, we have earlier also we have done when we were discussing about the processes. BT is a bacterium, a short form of a bacterium whose complete name is Bacillus thuringiensis. Now, this Bacillus thuringiensis is a bacterium. This bacterium is producing proteins, and these proteins can kill certain insects. Now that means this bacteria, Bacillus thuringiensis, is having some genes, which are, genes are what? Genes are the sequence, the DNA, then DNA will get converted into RNA, transcription, and RNA will get converted into protein, translation. You know the central dogma. So in them, these genes are, they express themselves by the formation of proteins. So they are producing the proteins, and the proteins which are formed from these genes, they are capable of killing certain insects, such as Lepidopterans, armyworm, coleopterans, beetles, and dipterans, flies and mosquitoes. So these are the pest insects which can cause diseases in the plant. Now how we are using it, this bacteria? We are using this bacteria, and this bacteria, this gene, we are taking out this gene from that bacteria and putting that desired gene into the plant. We are incorporating the gene which is responsible for production of protein which is killing the insects. Now this gene is present in the bacteria. From bacteria, this gene is taken and this is incorporated into the plant. So what happens? This bacteria, the genes of this Bacillus thuringiensis is producing protein. Now this protein is a toxic protein. It is not toxic in the inactivated form. Inactivated form, the protein which is produced is an protoxin. Protoxin means before the toxin. So that is in the inactivated form. So that toxin is present in the bacillus, in the bacteria. And when that gene is incorporated into the plant, that protein is present in plant also by simple transcription and translation. But these proteins are not killing the bacteria itself, and they are not killing the plant, because this toxin, this protein crystals, which are present in a protoxic form, inactivated toxin, in the plant and bacteria, that time they are not toxic. They are protoxin, and they will get activated only in the alkaline medium. So this alkaline medium is present in the insect's gut of the insect. So this inactivated toxin is present. It was present in bacteria, and from bacteria we have taken the gene which was producing this protein, and we have put that desired gene into the plant. Now that desired gene into the plant is also producing the protein, crystalline protein, which is toxic in nature, but it is not toxic for the plant, because in plant the alkaline medium is not available. Now what will happen? Suppose there is infestation of that plant by insects. So the insect will eat the leaf or the stem of that plant. So when the insect is eating the leaf or stem of the plant, the protein crystals will go into the gut of the insect, and inside the gut of the insect the medium is alkaline. So in alkaline medium, this toxin which was inactivated in plant will get activated because of the alkaline medium in the gut of the insect. So now what will this toxin do? This toxin will get activated, and it will bind to the epithelial cells of the gut of the insect, and it will create pores. It will proliferate the epithelium layer of the gut. So slowly and slowly there will be many pores in the epithelium of the gut of the insect, and slowly and slowly what will happen? Because of these pores there will be swelling. The water will get accumulated inside there, and because of that swelling, ultimately it will result in the death of the insect. That means we are not using any insecticide, we are not using any chemicals, but by this biotechnology process, we have made our plant genetically modified so that the plant itself has the capability to kill the insects. So what happens? This toxin, which is the protein which is formed by the gene, these genes are called CRY. Now this gene CRY, when you are writing the gene CRY, you have to write CRY and underline it, or it should be, you will find it written in the italics in textbooks and reference books. And when this CRY gene is producing protein, CRY protein, then CRY protein means crystallized protein. And when this is crystallized protein is formed, then it is written in the normal form. It is not written in the underlined form. So CRY gene and CRY protein. There are the convention of writing them is CRY gene is written in the italics or underlined, and CRY protein as it is. And in this CRY gene, there are different kind of genes. It's not that one CRY gene is capable of killing all the flies, all the mosquitoes, all the beetles, all the other insects. No, they are very specific. These genes are specific for insect. So specific genes can kill specific insect. For example, the genes which are Cry1AC and Cry2AB, these are the genes which control cotton bollworms. Cotton bollworms are there, so that's why this cotton is called BT cotton. BT cotton is, now we are using this BT cotton since 2002. So for last many years we are practicing this practice, and we are making our cotton BT cotton. So in that cotton we don't have to spray any insecticides. The insects themselves get killed by this genetically modified cotton plant, which is called BT cotton. So Cry1AC, Cry2AB control cotton bollworms, and those encoded with by Cry1AB, they control the corn borer. So they are specific. All Cry genes will not be killing all the insects. They are specific. For example, if there is Cry1AC, it will be for one particular type of insect. For example, cotton bollworms. And there is Cry1AB, that is specific for another type of insect, that is corn borer. So different genes of Cry are present for different insects. So now these days, not only BT cotton, we have got BT brinjal, we have got BT tomato, we have got BT cucumber. So in variety of crops, we are using this BT. BT is for Bacillus thuringiensis. From this bacteria, we are taking out the desired gene and incorporating it into the plant, the specific plant, and in that specific plant is called BT cotton. That because that is genetically modified now. It is having the gene of interest. So BT cotton. Now BT cotton is the name of the cotton plant which is genetically modified. And this BT cotton is resistant for these insects. So they will not get any diseases or they will not get any harm from these insects, because now after incorporating the gene for the Cry gene, the Cry protein is produced, which is crystalline protein and which can kill these insects, because they inside the insect there is alkaline medium, and that medium is required for the Cry gene to get activated. So the question comes that why, if it is a toxin, then bacteria itself should die, or if it is a toxin, if these genes are producing toxin, then the plant should also die because these genes are present in the plant. But the reason being is that in bacteria and in plant, they are not getting the alkaline medium. That alkaline medium is present in the gut of the insect. So it's only when the insect is eating that plant, these toxins get activated. So this was first application in the field of agriculture. Now the second application we will see, which is called RNA interference. RNA interference, as the name suggests, RNA we all are familiar now. Interference means disturbing. Why are you interfering in the class? Means you are disturbing the class. So this, in RNA interference, basically what happens, the RNA is interfered. What is actually RNA doing? The DNA is producing the messenger RNA. Messenger RNA is DNA after transcription, messenger RNA, and messenger RNA after translation will form proteins. So this is how the genes are expressing themselves. But suppose the RNA is being interfered. That means the messenger RNA will not be able to do its function of producing proteins. So what will happen? The proteins will not be formed. So that means the RNA will be interfered, and that protein which was normally being formed by that RNA, messenger RNA, will not be formed. That means the process of translation will not occur from that particular messenger RNA, because we have blocked that particular messenger RNA. So how this is done? This interference, actually it is a RNA interference, is a cellular defense which is present in all eukaryotic cells. In all eukaryotic cells, the cellular defense is present. Whenever we don't want any protein to be formed in our cells, then the RNA interference is present. RNA interference is what? The double-stranded RNAs are formed, and they will not let the messenger RNA to produce the respective protein. Now here we are concerned about this method, because here we are discussing that how we can prevent the infestation of the roots of tobacco by a nematode. Melanini incognitia is a nematode. Okay. Now this nematode is infestating the roots of the tobacco plant, and it is spoiling the plant. Clear? Now this nematode, which is Meloidy incognitia, there the RNA, with the help of the RNA interference, we can stop the roots of tobacco getting infested by these nematodes. Now how this is done? In RNA interference, a complementary RNA binds to messenger RNA to form a double-stranded RNA. DS is double-stranded. Now what will happen? Messenger RNA is formed. Messenger RNA will come out of the nucleus. In eukaryotes, what is happening? The messenger RNA is formed inside the nucleus. Then it comes out of the nucleus into the cytoplasm, and then the process of translation starts. But here, this messenger RNA will, complementary RNA will come. This complementary RNA, from where it is coming, we will discuss that. So any complementary RNA which is having the base pairing, complementary base pairing sequence of that messenger RNA will come and bind to the single strand of messenger RNA. So they will form double-stranded RNA. Now this double-stranded RNA cannot undergo the process of translation, and hence the protein will not be formed. So expression is blocked. That is called silencing. It is called silencing of the messenger RNA. We have stopped the messenger RNA. We have silenced him so that he cannot speak, so that he cannot express itself. So this silencing is done by the complementary RNAs which bind to the messenger RNA to form the double-stranded RNA. Now this complementary messenger RNA, it may come from the infection by RNA viruses, or it may come from genetic elements from anywhere, and this is called transposomes. Transposomes are the mobile genetic elements which will come and join with the messenger RNA to make it double-stranded RNA. Okay. Now what we are doing in this, there is a gene which is present in the nematode Meloidy incognitia. In this nematode, there is a gene which is responsible for the growth of this nematode. Okay, so this gene is producing the protein which is helping in growth of this nematode. Now what in biotechnology, how we genetically engineer it, the desired gene is that gene which is helping in the growth of that Meloidy incognitia. Now that gene is taken out, and it will be incorporated with the tobacco plant. So now tobacco plant is having that gene which is responsible for the growth of nematode. Now what will happen when there is infestation from that nematode? When the nematode will infestate the tobacco plant, that gene which is responsible for the growth will get silenced. The messenger RNA will get silenced by RNA interference. And when it will become silenced, it will form the double-stranded RNA. And it will not express, or it will not form the protein for the growth of the nematode. So what will happen? When nematode is eating that tobacco plant, it is infecting the roots of the tobacco plant, that gene is going into the nematode, and that nematode will have the RNA interference by silencing it by formation of double-stranded RNA. And when the double-stranded RNA is formed, that growth will not take place in the nematode. And this is taking place in the larvae form. So larvae form is, there are in the life cycle of the this thing, 4 stages are there: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. So in the larvae form, when these larvae, they are infecting these roots of the tobacco, they are having that protein. They should have that protein. But now, because of the RNA interference, that RNA, messenger RNA, which was responsible for the growth, will get silenced by RNA interference. So then it will not form the protein which is responsible for the growth of the nematode. So the nematode will not be able to grow. So the larval stage will end there only, and it will not be growing into the adult nematode. Now see this protein, what actually is happening is the messenger RNA will be divided into small fragments with the help of different enzymes. So dicer is one enzyme and slicer is one enzyme, which are breaking down into small fragments. Now what will happen? They will break it out, the double-stranded RNA, and they will form a complex which is called a RISC complex, RISC. Now what is this RISC complex? It is RNA interfering silencing complex. So this RNA interfering silencing complex is formed, and this complex will then break down the double-stranded RNA, and whichever gene, this is also very specific, whichever genes you don't want to express, so that would be silenced. Only that portion of the messenger RNA would be silenced by RNA interference. And RNA interference exists naturally in eukaryotes as a method of cellular defense. As I told you, for cellular defense, whenever we don't want any protein to be formed, or we don't want any expression of the gene to be completed, then the messenger RNA can be interfered. Messenger RNA can be interfered by formation of double-stranded RNA and by formation of RISC complex, RISC. RISC is RNA interfering silencing complex. Now let me show you that the introduced DNA forms both sense and antisense. Now which was the introduced DNA? The DNA which we have introduced from the nematode into the plant. Which plant? Tobacco plant. Because tobacco plant is getting infection from the nematode. So gene we have taken from the nematode, and we have incorporated that gene into the tobacco plant. Now inside the tobacco plant, this gene, this DNA is forming sense and antisense RNA. Both are being formed. So two strands being complementary to each other. So whichever strand would be complementary to the messenger RNA will form the double-stranded RNA, because double-stranded will be done only by complementary base pairing. So that double-stranded RNA will be formed, and that will lead to the RNA interference. Messenger RNA of nematode is silenced, and parasite cannot survive in the transgenic host, because now the nematode has eaten the larva of nematode. So what happened? The growth protein is not there. So now the larva cannot grow. So the parasite will not be able to survive in that tobacco plant. So this is how RNA interferencing is helping in the infestation of tobacco plant by nematode as well, to make it more clear. See, this is BT cotton. This is BT cotton, and this BT cotton is resistant for any insect infestation because of having that gene which is producing the cry protein. Now RNA interference is done. So this is the pre-messenger RNA, okay, and here the gene silencing genes are there, genes which are silencing. Now this is the enzyme dicer. Now these are the double-stranded RNAs. Now in double-stranded RNAs you will find SH and SI. SI is short interfering double-stranded RNA. SH is short hairpin RNA. Here, if you can see, it has become like a hairpin. The Jurapin. Jurapin is having double-stranded, and one side is curved. So this is short hairpin type of RNA. Now what will happen? These double-stranded RNA, the dicer will come. The dicer will break it, cleavage by the dicer. It will break the double-stranded RNA. Now the RISC will be formed. Now what is this RISC? RISC is the RNA interfering silencing complex. Now this RNA interfering silencing complex will be formed here, and this will break the it will make the different fragments of the messenger RNA. Now whatever messenger RNA we do not want to be expressed, we do not want the protein, the growth protein to form. So what will happen? The fragment which is specific for the gene, which is expressing in the formation of growth protein, will be silenced. So that it will not be able to express itself. Enzymatic cleavage of target MLA. So that is called target mRNA. The target mRNA is that mRNA, the fragment of that mRNA which we do not want to express. So here in case of nematode infestation, which RNA is the target RNA? The messenger RNA. Which messenger RNA is the target RNA? Which is going to express in the growth protein. So that has to be silenced with RNA interference by the formation of RISC complex. And here the various enzymes are working, such as dicer and slicers. So this is all about the RNA interference